Hello everyone, all the people over the internet, good people over the internet. Today we have with us the founders of Ipgyan.com. Before we go ahead, I would like to say that a very warm welcome to you both people right here. Thanks for coming in for this podcast with your very busy day. Anything you want to say before we move on with anything? Like for the people who don't know what is an IP at the very first, and then come to your company or startup, what it does.
Okay, so IPR is obviously intellectual property rights. And when you say IP, it means, something which ignites your business, which is important for your business. That's all in one word. And let's, dive deep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're on mute.
Oh, I just realized that IP is
Talented
anything which
people.
is anything which is a creation of human intellect, which a person creates out of their own mind and gives it a shape is IP, intellectual property.
No, actually, just, maintain the mystery. As we proceed with this 40 minutes or 1 hour, we'll, step by step, let people understand what intellectual properties are. So let's not dive into the definitions of what IP is. Just understand that whatever you are creating, whatever you're doing out of your brain is an intellectual asset, is intellectual property. So
Okay.
now, as Soparna will, help us, go through the conversation, we'll come up with more interesting facts about it.
Pretty interesting, right, people? Basically, first and foremost, it's not a question, it's a kind of a request from my side. So let's consider a situation like this. I am a beginner, for example, in all of these legal side of things. What would you like to say is the very first step in knowing what does this word mean legal?
Okay. So, do you want me to answer this, or Dave, you want to take it?
Please fight.
No,
Yeah,
it's either one. So if you want to go, shall go. If you want me, either way, it's fine.
yes.
I want a
So
fight, that's it.
let's be very honest. People hate legal things. Like they feel that whenever this legal word comes, they get scared. Even if they are business, they are individuals, or even a big level enterprise. So somewhere they find the word legal very scary, as well as time consuming and money consuming sort of. So if you ask me that what small businesses and individual proprietorship firms or enterprises understand from legal, something which helps them to be in a row, to be in the mainstream and in a proper way, the code of conduct, the compliances which they have to follow, or they have all these things in their mind when this legal word comes. So that's all.
So I'm a candidate of that fear actually. Whenever I hear this word, even from my childhood, I hear this word. We have this household dialogue.
Yes.
Someone who earns, for example, 50 lakh rupees a month as a salary or whatever it is, we are half of the people, or actually 95% of the people are like, is he doing or he or she doing something legal? So our definition of an understanding of this word legal is based out of fear, not out of curiosity.
Yes, it's more in negative terms than in positive way. Like when we say legal, we definitely, the common man, I'm saying, not advocates or lawyers. Common man will understand, यार ये legal मतलब कि वही सब तारीख पे तारीख, and नहीं तो फिर वो मोटा documentations and books, all कानून and that stuff. But legal is more than that, for businesses, for individuals, entrepreneurs, legal is something, if it is intact from the beginning, it's going to be a great asset for them. Like, it will probably save you from lots of, bad diseases, and will definitely help your startup to get good.
Okay,
So
that's a pretty
if
simple stuff. Beginners like me can understand. Yeah.
if I have to, because if I think you are a Bengali as well, and we love to give examples about land. I don't know why land. Any example that comes out of land, we are very happy. So let's say we are right now, three of us are standing on a piece of land and we have a boundary. So let's consider that boundary as something legal and something beyond that is illegal. So something that is unknown, something which is not pushed back by the laws which are codified again by the people or the parliament, something like that. So legal is something which is in light, which is not in darkness, and which has a definite, what to say, an area that you can see, a boundary, a limit.
where there will be only peace, no fights, no violence.
Maybe this word legal is nightmares for so many enterprises and businesses.
No,
That
if you talk about MNCs, if you say them legal is the most hated department in any business, because people think that legal tends to slow business down, which is true, but
Yeah.
legal again saves you from screwing things up later on. So,
Yeah,
but no
I
one
must
thanks
tell
them.
you this. Yes, I agree with Debargo, and I must tell you, Sopan, like most of the time, legal is seen so, as a gray part of a company that sometimes people say that, "अरे company में legal wing में तो हमारा सिर्फ पैसा जा रहा है," But actually, their products, the whole compliance, their company is running because they are protected. Like it's just like a, shield which you wear before going to the war. So people don't look the legal department or legal thing from that perspective. They don't look it from that perception. But if you go outside, if in India specifically, when you go outside, you see that people are more friendly, when it comes to the legal thing. They are more, involved and more eager to understand how the process or the due diligence and the law of the land, what it says. But here people do find it difficult to understand things, and there is, a gap between the judicial system as well as, the applications and the processes which go in hand. So yeah, definitely it's a scary word in India, and I do agree with Debargo.
like I was recently watching a conversation where Kunal Shah was speaking. Like he's one of the everyone knows Kunal Shah, at least in the entrepreneur section. He was saying something like this: 95% of Indian people don't know what is inflation. So people complain about fuel prices and petrol prices rising up, but they don't see that Papri chart has a low production cost, but still has the same profit margin as other consumer products, right? And then he said something, and I was thinking for that for 5 minutes, and it made me laugh a lot. And it's this: especially in a country like India, things which are actually important and needed to be done, people here see it as an expense and not as an investment. And I think this is one of the
Correct.
golden lines he has said. And I'm thinking for that first time, and I'm like, हाँ इसलिए लोग health insurance नहीं लेते इंडिया में. When the time comes, they'll sell their kidneys to admit people at hospital, but they'll not pay 10,000 rupees a year to get a 1 crore cover. And I'm like, how dumb is this? Um, so, what's
People
your take
also
on
take
this?
legal as insurance. People also take legal as insurance, even
Maybe an
corporations, at
expense.
least. So yes, so it's a calculated math. If I have to shell this amount of money for legal, so is it worth it? So because see, nobody likes getting in trouble. The same way, any person gets an insurance claim when they are screwed. The actual utilization of legal comes in when a company or something is screwed. But they also have to understand, unlike insurance, if you have a good legal team, they'll ensure that from the very beginning stage, you are not your things are in proper shape, everything is complied, and all the intellectual properties are protected. But yeah, so sadly, what you said is true.
Anything the CEO want to add?
Yes, I do want to add. Actually, this subject is and you know is a very important thing. Like what Kunal Shaw said, that people in India, they look things as expense, and they kind of they feel that if I'll be spending this amount of money in something, then definitely it will dig my pocket, a hole in my pocket. Then I have to then compensate it to other things and all. But sometimes you have to think about the longer impact it will have on you. And people here do lack that. But I also agree that there are people, there are entrepreneurs who are planning things very well, There are people and businesses who are planning things from the initial stage. They are having a good budget, and they are looking things specifically legal, as well as other compliance part of the businesses, as something they are investing in, and it will definitely bring more good things to their business in the long run. So yeah, I personally feel there is a problem in in this whole India ecosystem, that people see it as a expense rather than investment. But yeah, I think the young entrepreneurs will definitely change the picture.
Absolutely. So before I actually disturbed you people for the podcast, I actually was thinking of a question to ask you guys, because honestly, if I say, like, I'll not say I'm a very pro at all of these legal things, then I would have founded Ipgyan. I'm a noob at all of these. I don't. I have a certain amount of sense how legal things work. So going back to the first line I said, for example, you two guys think of me as a beginner, and maybe let's take three scenarios. For example, maybe I'm an artist of any sort, maybe a musician, maybe a painter, maybe anything, a creative side. Maybe I'm a content creator. And third is maybe I'm a entrepreneur, or maybe a founder of a new startup. Like, what would you like to advise on the legal side of things to a beginner? For example, in this case, me.
Yeah.
Number
So,
one thing which,
yeah,
yeah, please
shall
go on.
I think we should talk in reverse order. You talk about on entrepreneurs and startups. I'll talk about artists and creators. So
Okay.
if
Yeah,
you
sure,
want to
sure,
go
sure.
on,
I would want you to first start with artists and creators, because Sopan is really excited about artists and creators.
yeah, sure, so, sure, definitely. So the kind of intellectual property major like in a majoritarian way, the kind of IP that artists deal with is copyrights. Because now, what is copyright? Let's first understand that. So copyright, as the word says, it's a right to copy, right? So basically a right to copy, yes, that is what copyright is, but this is a negative right. If you have a copyright, that means you own the right to make copies. So this is as simple, if I have to tell you. So if you own a copyright, you own the right to make copies. Now, the kind of artists, there are five different kinds of copyrights that exist. There can be a copyright in a literary work. What is a literary work? A literary work can be a poem, a lyrics, a prose, a news article, anything which is written. There can be copyright in a musical work. When I say musical work, don't think of a Badshah song. A musical work would essentially mean the graphical notations, or as we do. Have you ever seen? Have you ever played a harmonium or seen someone play it before you? They literally play the notes, right? When we hear a lot of like people doing revas and playing the notes. So the copyright in musical work is that when you are not actually putting in the lyrics, but only the notes. Number three comes, there is copyright in sound recording. Now, sound recording is when you, so we are recording this podcast, right? So I'll give you an example from here. So right now this is an audio visual thing going on, but if you put this on Spotify, Ghana, or any other streaming platform, you're going to put the audio. And since you are the producer of this podcast, and so you are going to be the owner of this sound recording, provided there are certain legal things that are to be taken in place, but not talking about that. You are the owner. So this is a copyright in sound recording. But right now we are also recording a video. So there is also a copyright in the video.
Okay.
Yeah. So we talked about musical works, literary works, right? We talked about sound recordings. We talked about cinematographic films. And number five, as you had asked, that is artistic work. Any work of art is what would qualify as copyright in artistic work. Now, what my advice to all the artists would be is to first identify whether they own any sort of copyrights or not. For anything to have copyright in that, it has to be novel, that it has to be new, and it has to be expressed. So that is important. So let's say I'm thinking of a movie plot, which is where I'm thinking, but I have not written it down. So it's not fixed. It's not written. So then copyright won't subsist in that. I am thinking of a brilliant art piece of art in my mind, better than Mona Lisa or the Starry Night. But I'm thinking it's in my head. I have not painted it. So there's no copyright in that. So my first advice to all the artists would be first identify your art, or is it music, is it sound recording, or if you are in the music industry, you there's a copyright in lyrics, there's a copyright in the musical works, there's a copyright in sound recording. You're dealing with three copyrights, and that is why music industry deals with a lot of copyrights. Once you put in a video, there's one like another cinematographic film angle to it. So you're dealing with a lot of copyrights. So firstly, identify the copyrights. Secondly, identify who is owning the rights to whom. This is very important because once you commercialize it, sadly we live in a time when everyone wants to commercialize any form of art, right? Only a few people do it for their sake, and even if they're doing it, they are not actually concerned about copyrights. So if you want to gain any commercial exploitation, you'll have to identify the stakeholders, who all are involved, what are the rights they have, because it might be that we are doing this podcast with you, right? So technically, we all of us, if we are putting our input in some or the other form, there should be we all should have some rights. But since you are the producer, you are the owner of this podcast, so the rights will flow from us to you. So that is what I wanted to say. So that is where the artist and everyone needs to understand that how there is a flow of rights, how, and also one thing that like people in the artist and creator community do not consider is also registering their copyrights and intellectual property, which is very important. Because let's say if I write a song, I have written a song and I am playing to you on my guitar right now, you like the song and you decide that you will change the lyrics, you'll change the melody, but you will make a new song and you'll release it. And provided you have very good mic system and everything with you right now, you can just record it and in by midnight new song, and I am like awestruck. But if I had registered that, now what
Ah,
will happen now? So now what will happen if you make something? I'll have to go and prove that you have actually infringed my copyright. So you have actually breached my rights. But had I taken a registration, then you'll have to prove that you didn't steal my rights. So the ball, the onus changes.
oh, so that's probably called copyright infringement, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, yes, that is what is called as copyright infringement. The other kind of intellectual property that artists and creators deal with, if they are creating a brand of their own, then that is called as trademarks. So shall we talk more about trademarks as she speaks? So what my advice to the artist would be is to understand that just because you get a trademark in some one, so there are 45 classes for trademarks to get applied on. So if you are an artist, there are classes like class 41, class 9, class 35, which are basically classes which are necessary for an artist. So if you want yourself to be protected, your brand to be protected, these are the checks. These are the classes where you should consider registering, because you cannot go and apply for the all of the 45 classes if you're, because if you're an artist, you're not cultivating paddy, or you're not making wine or beer. So that is where you don't need a manufacturing trademark. But what you need is what you should get. But getting a trademark for artists is when they are already in the business, they are generating revenue, and that is when they should consider it. But for the copyright side of things, yeah, they should first identify the copyrights they have. They should identify the stakeholders. Then they should identify the flow of rights. Ideally, they should own the rights. If they want to be like, as we call, a one-stop shop for everything, a creator and an artist should own all the rights, irrespective of how he or she has paid the other people. The flow of rights should be with them, because if they are doing anything commercial tomorrow, it is very difficult to move here and there and get to collect all the rights. So that is what my advice would be.
Okay, wow, that's pretty simply laid out, because I think when people approach, especially as an artist myself, for example, I had this question for a long time. Like, for example, I released a particular, like you said, this podcast is an audiovisual event that's going on right now. So, for example, there will be a copyright for the audio, there will be a copyright for the video as well. So, for example,
Yes.
is there a platform, or maybe is there something physical or authority that we can actually entitle that audio and video, for example, so that probably the entity would say that no, it's his, you cannot copy that. How one should,
No,
like,
no,
what's the first step in actually understanding this entire structure of copywriting and copywriting your art, for example, whether it's a product, your product is
so
music, or yeah.
yeah. One thing I would just like to tell, India is a signatory of something called Bern Convention, 1886, which means that right now, let's say three of us are sitting and we decide to write a song. Three of us write a song, and boom, it's done. So the moment we three of us write a song, our copyright starts subsisting. Our copyright is there in the song the moment we create it. Now, why do you need a registration? You need a registration to prove that it was three of us who wrote the song and not 10 other people.
Okay.
Because
No dilution.
like, no, there's no dilution. Otherwise, it's not mandatory. So I want all the listeners to understand that it's not mandatory to register your copyright. It's not. If someone tells you, they should also weigh your stance. So let's say if someone is a newbie and someone is just starting out and they are working on a piece of art, it's not even complete, maybe a script. You don't have to go and copyright every versions of the script. Once you are done, once you have the final product is when you think of registration. So yeah.
It's interesting. Anything, ma'am? Please shine your
Yeah.
thoughts on this.
So yes. So I'll come to the commercial, the other parts of IP, and as you asked me that what startups and beginners should keep in mind when it comes to legal, the number one thing which I always say whenever I speak to entrepreneurs or businesses, I say that first of all, know your product. What are you building? Okay, whether it's a product, whether it's a service, know it very nicely. Understand that what impacts it is going to create in the market. What kind of marketplace are you bringing? What kind of target audience are you want to reach out? Number one. So these aspects are very important because see, legal is nothing separate from business. It is a part of business, right? So business and legal go hand in hand. So you have to be very clear about your products and services, then only you can understand that what kind of legal services you need in your product or services which you are developing, whether you are an entrepreneur, an individual working on some project, or maybe a SME, or maybe a big enterprise, right? So number one thing is product and services identification, then know your target audience, and third thing is IP identification, intellectual property identification. Now you can ask me that shall like how to identify intellectual property. So you have to number one understand like what kind of product or services are you building and what is important for you. Like for example, if I'm building a fashion brand, maybe my name is very important to me, right? My products are very important to me. My design is important to me, right? So at that moment, when I know that what my product and services are, the second thing which I'll do is I'll sit and I'll identify, I'll make a list of all the IPs associated with my business, starting from the name of the business. Suppose XYZ is the brand name. So what is brand name? Like we all have our name. You know me by Shell, I know you by Sopan, Devargia, right? We all have our name, and this is what we know, we are known in the society. Same in the marketplace, business communicate with each other and with the clients and the customers through their name, their image, which they create in the marketplace, which is known as brand. So brand is just like a human personality, you can say. They do interact with the customer. So it is very important that you have a very, very peculiar, a unique, and a good brand name as well as an image. Now you have XYZ, a very good name, and now you are interacting, you have made a product or you are giving a service, and now you have launched yourself in the marketplace. Okay, the first thing which you have to do is protect your brand name from getting copied, or getting into like unfair competition. Someone, suppose whatever you are building, if someone else is building the same thing by your own name, like by your name, definitely it will create a kind of confusion for the your customers, to identify which one is the original one, right? So it is important that from the beginning you have your trademark registered. So trademark, as the word says, trademark. I'm not going by the definition because I want viewers to, understand it in very layman language. So trademark, like, whatever the mark or the name you're trading with the clients or the customers, get it protected. It has a process, of getting a registration. Suppose you have XYZ name, it goes, you have to go through the procedure of getting it registered, which I'll discuss later. Now we have copyright. Ipgyan has already, explained what copyright is. It's not just about creators. It also comes under the technology thing. Suppose if you are developing a code, you're writing an algorithm, and you want it to get copyrighted, because most of the time codes are, if run separately, and if it's not properly, like if it's not intact with any hardware, it qualifies for copyright, not a patent. So many times, I get this question from entrepreneurs and startups that I have written a code and I wanted to get it patented, but actually it's not patented if it's not integrated with a hardware thing. Your algorithm is not properly integrated with a hardware thing. It will not fall under the patent registration. It will fall under copyright. So the whatever codes you write, algorithms you make, they qualify for the copyright registration. Now the third is patent. So patent is all about your invention. It talks about inventions. Suppose you have developed a certain kind of camera or a pen, like a high technology advanced pen. So it's very noble. Suppose nobody else have made such kind of pen. It's invention in this area. Now you want it to get protected. Like someone, if someone else will copy the same thing, definitely it will be a loss for you. So the primary, factors which makes a product qualify for patent and invention to be patented is: number one, it should be novel, it should be new. Number two, it should be industrially applicable, means it can be, applied in the marketplace, people can practically use it. And number three, it can be monetized too. So these are the three factors which are associated with patents. So this is like patents. And then designs. As I said, if suppose I'm a fashion brand, or suppose if I make unique bottles, shape of bottles, then definitely that will qualify for design. For example, Coca-Cola. You see the Coca-Cola bottle, it's nicely made. So they, got the whole shape of that bottle registered and in the design set. So designer talks about all the registrations and procedures related to protecting your designs if you are building something. And then comes the GI, that is geographical indications. So geographical indications are a very different genre of intellectual property rights. It's a community right, you can say. Suppose a product is based locally, like it's being used by the people there. If I have to give example, champagne, right? Champagne was actually is a French village, but you know that champagne, that product got its name because of that village. It comes from that village, and the community decided that let's get this as a GI. So same in India, geographical indications, like a lot of paintings coming from Tamil Nadu, or a lot of other Chhattisgarh, such kind of places you see, they have the
To give you an
community which
example,
yeah.
so the best example I think for our listeners will be Govindobhog rice, which only
Yes,
grows in Burdwan district. Yeah.
yes,
Even
yes. So this
Dhakai
is again a
Jamban,
GI.
Joynagolil
Exactly.
Moa.
Mhm.
Yes. The
God, you're
Agra
making me hungry.
petha, which, yes, the Agra petha, you see, that petha is a GI. So these kind of Roshogulla again. So all these are geographical indications. They are a separate, different kind of IP, and it's IP rights, and they are related with communities. So once you have identified and listed all your IP, like trademark and everything, next part is go for your budget. See how your pocket is allowing you to do, or your budget is allowing you to go for. Okay, so Agra ka petha is again GI, and Roshogulla. So all these are examples of geographical indication. By the name it suggests, geographically identified. So these are basically a separate kind of intellectual property rights in the whole family of IPs. So this is what I said in the last, when it got disconnected. Now coming to the next thing, which is budget. Like once you have identified what is important for your, like what kinds of IPs are involved in your business, the second thing is knowing what you can afford at this moment, how much your budget allows you. Because you cannot put your entire money just in the legal things and the registration. Let's be very practical. People think that legal things are expensive, but if you properly chart out things from the beginning, everything will be, at a proper place. So
Well
budget
balanced.
is the next thing which they should do. They should figure out that whether I should go for trademark right now, because trademark government fee is 4,500 for the individuals, and for the big companies and everything, it has a separate other fees. So if you are a startup, then you can definitely 4,500. You can just spare it, put it in the budget. So if you want to do trademark, then you will figure out that okay, trademark, then copyright. If your business or product allows you to go for copyright, after that go for registration. Once budget thing is over, go for registration. Now registration thing will again need you to invest in professionals, and where we come into play. So people, really they avoid taking help from attorneys or legal advisors, thinking that they will be expensive people, or if I can do this by myself, why should I go to a lawyer or an attorney? So listeners, I must tell you this, that it is very important that when you are in your initial year, you preserve your money, right? If you just if Because you have a lot of other things to do in a business, right? You are just handling the whole ship alone. So at the same time, you need someone to help you out in the legal front. Everything you cannot manage alone, and that is why it is very crucial that at that moment you get a good advice. There are a lot of people in the market, lot of other resources through which you can just read and file things by your own. But I will definitely not recommend it to any person who is beginning, or his or her entrepreneurship journey, or is a startup or a SME. I will not recommend. Go to a good, attorney, professional, take help, and file for your IP. The third, like the last part which I'll come to is contracts. Once you have done all the registrations and everything, jump to the contracts. Get your contracts at place, because your business will communicate to the other business only when your terms and conditions are clear to the other business, right?
Uh,
Then definitely you will never put yourself in a position where you are vulnerable. Anyone can just quash you. Maybe your product can be in risk, or you can be at risk. So to avoid such things, you have to get your contracts. If you are into services, you should have, if you're doing B2B, you should have vendor agreements intact. If you are into other tech businesses, you should have your service agreements properly. If you have a e-commerce website, or a good website where you are collecting data or something, you should have a proper privacy policy at place. So all these qualify for a proper contract. And the last part, which is definitely an important, is monetization of your IP. Just do not, why people think that it is an expense, because most of the people in India, they do not understand that at primary age stage, if you register your IP, in the secondary stage or maybe later, you have to monetize your IP in order to make it as a asset for your business, right? So this monetization of IP is always missing, and that is why they feel that it is an expense rather than an investment, because that return of investment they don't get. So that is why IP is kind of a avoided subject in India still, we can say. But yeah, it's growing day by day, but yeah, still people needs a lot of when. So monetization of IP is something which comes only when you use your brand name more, you create a space for yourself, you interact heavily like we are doing, right? You understand, you talk, and you have happy customers and clients, then definitely it's a kind of you're monetizing it. And very last, when you're monetizing IP, it is directly linked to your asset, to your valuation. Okay, you are an entrepreneur, you're building a startup, right? You have a vision, you want to build something big. Just take, for example, the case of Tesla. Okay, SpaceX, when they started, they had they definitely had a vision that I want to do this, and they made things possible. So at every journey, you have to fund yourself. Number one, you have to protect yourself. You have to be in the battle, and for being in the battle, you have to keep monetizing like as possible it is for you. Just keep monetizing your IP and bring like getting better in your valuation. So that's all which I want to suggest for anyone who is a beginner and building a business.
Probably I'll not sleep. Probably I'll not sleep tonight. I have to study a lot. Actually, like this is the reason I have podcasts with people who are really good at things which they are doing. For example, the other day I was having a conversation with probably some a musician. His name is Sahil Makhija, and that guy, not guy actually, that man has actually, it's just like he has won Rolling Stone awards to, probably their band is also like Grammy nominated. I don't know. I was talking to them and he's 40 years old, and he was like, I asked him a question. It's like, what do you think of creative people who are starting out on a creative journey, whether it's startup they're building, whether it's a content platform that they're building, whatever it is. He said it takes a relentless amount of work and learning. Um, so I thought the podcast I was seeing on YouTube, I was thinking like, okay, a lot of information has been conveyed, a lot of things done, but how do normal people who are doing stuff, who are absolutely understanding that okay, we can actually build something, they're realizing their potential, okay, this can be done. What's the first, like this is a question, what's the first step a beginner like me should have? Like, what's the first step? For example, we have identified our product service. Maybe it's an art, maybe it's a startup we're building, maybe we have a physical product, maybe we are a SAS SaaS company, software as a service as a company. What is the first step in understanding? And the second question to that would be added as from my side actually, that is, what are those legal terms that everyone should be aware of? At least, for example, for example, like 10 legal terms everyone should be aware of. Like, you don't need to know 100 terms, but 10 terms you have to know, because otherwise it will get you trouble later on.
Okay. So you want me to answer like the 10 terms which people should be aware of in the legal domain, are you saying?
Yes, exactly. For example, someone has invented something. Maybe they may have launched a product or service for the startup. Maybe they are a creator on YouTube. Maybe they're an artist. What are the terms they should be aware of, and that should be common in the three areas which I talked about.
Okay, so I would like Debargia to talk about the creators and the musician part, and I'll take the tech and the other commercial bit.
Okay, no fighting, peace.
Yeah, sure. Actually, not terms. We can talk about certain name of clauses which play a very important role in all creators economy, startup economy. First thing that all of all of your listeners, all of the listeners should understand is that what is a contract and what is an agreement. So very basic thing. So yeah, both are not same. So
Exactly.
only such agreements which can be enforced by law are contracts. So let's say I can drop an agreement with you that we'll go and kill someone. We can do an agreement. That can never be a contract. Why? Because the subject matter of that agreement is void. What does void mean? You get your term number two, illegal.
Always.
Number
Yeah, the
three.
whole subject matter is illegal. You're going to kill
Uh-huh.
someone.
Now
Exactly.
number three. Okay. Number three, something can be as like void ab initio, like void from the beginning. I'm making a contract with you where we are going to sell drugs. It is void ab initio, void from the beginning.
Uh,
So I got you four terms like contract, agreement, void, void ab initio. Also, like something that artists should know after lockdown, which I think Cher was going to speak, but I'm going to take that, is force majeure.
force major.
Force majeure is something. Let's say something which cannot be precedented, something which cannot be overseen. I think you are in a better position to explain force majeure and an act of God. So I'll leave that to you because from a commercial point you can explain it better. I'll come
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So when you ask me like what are the terms which are heavily important for a beginner, I will say the basic term is contract. First thing is contract. Get your contracts at place. The other thing for people who are building product or services in the tech field, you know, whatever services, like suppose you have a SaaS thing, right? Then you should definitely have your service agreement as place. Now, when you have a service agreement, it is an important thing where the parties, the subject matter of the whole contract should be clear to the client, like what is actually you're putting like constraints on, like what kind of data are you collecting, number one. Number two, payment, how your the payment things look like, because you're building a service, SaaS product, right? So is it a subscription model, what kind of subscription? So it should be in a detail, so that whoever is reading it, your clients, or maybe your, if you're B2B, definitely, then the businesses who are reading it, they at least get a proper, insight as to what your terms conditions are, what your product is bringing with it, right? So this is for the SaaS products. Third thing, when patent something, like suppose you have invented something, and you got it patented, the first thing which you do to monetize it, to license or to sell it, right? So again, this word patents, licensing is coming. So patent is definitely you assign it. You made decide. Suppose you invented this pen, you got it patented. Now you launched it in the market, and someone is interested in buying it and building something more. You assign this to that person. So again, definitely royalties are associated once you assign. So royalties are again the third term. Licensing also comes in copyright, as they were told that in the creators economy, a lot of licensing, heavily licensing things happen. People who are the owner of copyright, they license their product. So these are another licensing thing. Now, in patents, again, evergreening of patent. This is again a legal term. So if you are someone in the pharmaceutical industry, right, and in a duration of time, you have a patent over a product, or an invention. Now again, you modify it, and again, you relaunched it and get the patent. That is called evergreen. So
I would
this is
also like
again
to
a
say
new
a few, I would like to say a few very basic terms because it crossed my mind because we deal it every day. So, Panda, you should also, for common things like litigation, arbitration, mediation, these might sound very obvious to us, but it is not for our
Uh,
listeners. Litigation is something when you go to court to get a, like justice. Mediation is when you bring in someone who is a third uninterested party, and that party tries and negotiates a settlement between the parties. It's a win-win on both sides. That is a mediation. What is arbitration? You do not go to a court, but you find someone competent as a court, and then you ask that person, you say what is wrong and what is right. So that is what again is arbitration. So these are things like which might sound obvious to us, but it won't be obvious to our listeners. Also, from a criminal side of things, although we were not talking, but often like talking about, because copyright law now uh, recognizes this thing, something called as cognizable offense and non-cognizable offense. Cognizable offenses are such offenses which are punishable by law with imprisonment with more than 3 years, and which someone will not get bail. And non-cognizable are something which are punishable for less than 3 years and someone can get a bail. So very basic things, like difference between what is an FIR, first information report, by which actually a police can come and arrest someone without an court order. But a general diary is just a very simple thing. We are deviating from IP, but I thought I'll just tell you these things because these are very common
Yeah,
legal terms that people
yeah.
don't.
So as Debargia has made you understand about FIR and the criminal side, there are more important terms like force measure, as he said. So during this pandemic time, 2020, most of the businesses they heavily suffered because in their contracts this clause force measure was missing. Now, what this force measure this means? This clause means that if in any case or by any chance something which is not anticipated or maybe not imagined, and it comes or it appears, in that case, you know if there will be a delay from X or Y as a business in exchanging products, or in the payment things or anything, then definitely it should be settled. It should be taken into care without approaching the court that okay, this person has breached the agreements, and the person should be properly compensated for the delay and everything. So businesses use it in order to save themselves for the scenarios like which is unprecedented, which cannot be thought, like just as a pandemic, for example, in 2020, nobody was thinking about that a pandemic will come, and for the rest 2 years everything will be shut down, and will be like 1 year will be at home. So businesses do suffer horribly during this time. The litigations cases increased. Most of the businesses were approaching court because they were clueless, they were not getting money, like whatever they supplied to the other businesses, they were not getting the consideration out of it, and it was a breach of contract. So definitely they were reaching courts. But if this clause is in the contract, it can definitely give a vision not just to you but also the other business, and you can have a cordial relation or at least get a proper thing. So force measure, and then again act of God. Like sometimes it might happen that because of you know something like, suppose it rains so heavily that now it's flood. So because of that, I cannot deliver a particular project to somewhere. So that is an act of God, because it was not under my control. It was
Now
all
think of a wedding
natural
contract
calamity.
on a beach. Think of a wedding contract on a beach. High tides came and the entire wedding setup is gone. Who is to be blamed? No
Why
one.
you give such terrible
Actually, actually,
examples?
actually, I was about to say that, like, we recently saw a meme now that the two couples actually signing a big contract, like, 15 days shopping, 15 days cooking, and all of that shit. I actually saw it. I was like, oh, probably these people have gone to Ipgyan. And so they were signing all those, weird things on the contract. I'm here like, "ये क्या हो रहा है? देश में क्या हो रहा है
नहीं
ये?"
भाई, हम alien नहीं है. We are not weird people. We just enjoy, taking weird examples. It's interesting, right? Let's make legal thoda chatpata so that people will enjoy. Will talk
Exactly,
about it.
exactly.
Yeah, sure. We are trying, our best to be friendly with people, to change the perception they have for lawyers. Okay, we want them to be happy seeing us, coming and asking us questions that please tell me, what it means, like you are doing. Thank you so much.
So, what do you think? What people have an image in their mind that they think like, okay, lawyers are some 6 feet, 7 feet people with black coats and with a gun in the hand. Anything you answer wrong, they'll shoot you. Probably this is the perception
Not
people have,
gun,
especially.
not gun. They think that lawyers are the most cunning, creatures on earth. Okay,
Actually, exactly,
and
huh?
and my whole, like, the lawyer fraternity knows it, that they are not naive. like most of the people, they think that क्या ये कोर्ट कचहरी के मामले में पढ़ेंगे
I've heard that. Every family has this word.
हाँ कोर्ट कचहरी, this thing is very famous. So but we have to grow our mindset from this. क्या है, business है, काम कर रहे हो, litigation तो होगा, problem होगा, dispute होगा. People do have, like right now we are on good terms. Might happen that after 5 minutes, I don't like something, I said that it should be like this. Disputes do happen. So you have to be accommodating. If you are accepting things, you should be open for disputes as well. So this thing we find missing in India. People are a bit rigid. नहीं हम जो बोल रहे हैं
I'll do it. I'll do it myself.
So यहाँ क्या होता है, lawyers पे थोड़ा एक क्या कहूँ, एक judgmental thing है, pressure है that we are boxed into something जो कि बहुत primitive था, like जो देखा गया है movies में and all that, दिखाया गया है. We are not that primitive people, and we are here to help people, right? This is a noble like I must say noble profession. Law is a noble profession. We are here to help and not to just mint money. This should be clear, because I really feel bad when people speak that I have like lost so many so much of my money into all this jamila, this legal stuff. Lawyers do take a very heavy like fees for that, but everything has a price in the world. You have to understand.
I'm looking for
And
such clients who pay such generously. Haven't got one till date. So
yes, and yes, from our part, we should be a professionals who provide accurate and needed thing. Like जैसे एक doctor करता है, वैसे एक lawyer करता है. Whatever is required for the business, we should do it. Like being a commercial lawyer, this is what I think. For me, it matters that how my clients take, what my clients think about me, and how I can help them, how Ipgyan can help them, what impact we can create in this industry, how we can solve the existing problem, how we can just reduce this gap which people have in this legal and the community. That's why we try to be ourselves more approachable. We talk to people, we go to events, we try to make them comfortable.
A question from actually a lot of people, I would say, like everyone would have this question, like on a percentage scale. All right, scale. Sorry, I'm too educated. On a percentage scale, how important is it for a small scale business, an MNC, or even a billion-dollar company? In what terms of percentage is this side of things in a business very important?
Legal, are you talking about? Like the percentage of legal in a business?
How much is it important? Like, is it the first step or the last step or somewhere in the middle?
See, for me, if you ask me, I will definitely say from the beginning. You should never look for organizing things when ठीक है, when मैं सब कुछ कर लूँगा, when I will make my product, I will launch it and I'll go to investors, तब मैं legal में आऊँगा. ऐसा होता ही नहीं है, because when you're thinking of gaining investment, okay, you're looking for investors. From the very beginning, you have to be very, very, very clear as to how you're moving, right? You have to plan your step. And that planning is not just business proposals or your pitch deck or whatever you're doing. It's also important that what legal strategy are you taking? How much are you clear with your terms, right? Your paperwork is at place. You're properly compliant. These all are very important, because once you are in a prototyping stage, once your product is ready and you have all your papers at place, and when you go to an investor, definitely the investor will be very happy seeing that yes, this person has come with clean hands. He has everything at place.
No disputes or like.
Yes, and they will be more interested. The chance of investing in you will be 50
Increased,
times more than than someone coming with a very unorganized set.
So it's kind of like more than 95% rate of importance this like businesses should have.
Yeah, yes, as your business grows, the legal side also grows. Like if you come into the enterprise level, you have to keep a check on your compliances, like how your company is, running. Your audits are done properly or not. Your other thing, the employees are properly being recruited. If they are creating any breach, then definitely you have to take steps, legal steps. So without legal, you cannot actually make your business proper, or like, it's super important, what I think from my. Dave, you want to add anything?
Well, I think you very beautifully put it out that taking cognizance of legal things is important from the very beginning, because we are not very sure how relationship between the business partners and people stay as a business proceeds, or between the
Yes.
parties. But what stays is the document which is signed, the contract which stays.
Exactly. So that's kind of the proof that we can't be fooling ourselves. For example, business partners, because we all know what money does to some things, right? For example, a company just launched maybe a year ago, and they were having a revenue of X. Suddenly, their sales rose up, and they're having a revenue of 10x. But before that, they didn't actually, have had a really real good frantic discussion with themselves that it will be 5x 5x, for example. Now they're fighting that no, mine is 7x, yours is 3x, or it's the opposite that's happening.
Exactly. So this thing happens, when you're not clear from the beginning and you have not done a proper paperwork. The co-founders agreement is not properly signed, or the partnership agreement is not properly at place. Because see, when you document something, you think. If I have to write something, I'll think, right? So this is important in your business. So legal department or the legal part always forces you to think and to be disciplined.
Exactly. Exactly. Honestly, I'm saying all of these sides, the legal side of everything, doesn't matter if it's a business also. Like if you are in a job as well, what's your tax bracket in your salary? People don't have this idea, honestly. Half of the entire Indian population, like for example, you're working in a job, on the financial side of things, people don't know what, according to the salary, what tax bracket they're in, how much
Yeah,
tax they're paying on the salary. They don't have a single idea of that. Whereas in a rising new term like the creator economy, if you watch the US, they have already a nearly a $500 billion creators economy. Right. So if you can trace that, it's kind of half of the entire Earth's GDP right here. So
yeah.
in India, all of these terms are new. I'll not say people are not working in spreading this awareness that please take a look at everything while you're doing. Especially if you're a founder of a startup as a CEO, you can't do 15 things together. That's physically, humanly not possible. Your brain will give up. Your entire body will give
Yeah,
up.
surely.
You'll be in the hospital, stressed out. But still, people will not pay 50,000, just a mere 50,000 rupees amount to do a thing that will serve for their lifetime. They don't have to think about it. Legals, हाँ वो तो सही पड़ा हुआ है, देख लो. People will be like, oh my god, they have really a strong legal base. We can't do anything with that.
And with time, I must say, you say this, Soparna, with time it gets complicated. As your
Hmm.
as the number of the years of your business will increase, things will become more complicated. You will get breaches and all other stuff. Your own employees will start breaching the things because they will
Wow.
find that it's super easy to cheat them, super easy to play things and just go out of it. So it's important that you build that. You knit the thing from the very beginning.
A line has to be there because if you cross this, this is your maybe the punishment, for example. So we actually discussed a lot about things about the legal side of things. Like, tell us something about the startup you guys have done because I'm like really interested in knowing what is in two lines or maybe in a lot of lines. How would you explain Ipgyan, the founder people over here?
Yes.
Take us through the entire journey
So
of building this.
okay. So I'll not waste any single second in explaining who we are. IP Gyan is definitely not IP ka gyan. Whenever I pitch myself, I use this. Please.
You actually mailed me this entire thing. You actually described. I was like, interesting stuff.
So we are more than it. IP gyan, when you decode the whole, the whole letters which has in, in its name. I stands for innovate. P stands for protect. G stands for guide. We do guide our clients. Y stands for yield. A stands for agility in our methods. And N stands for nexus between tech, law, and design with analytics. So this is what defines us in one
Okay,
sentence.
a request from my side. Can you just explain very simply so that everyone can understand in a very water language that all of these 6 terms IPGYAN, what does this entire set of words mean one by one?
Okay. When I say innovate, it's directly linked with what are you bringing on table? What's there in your mind? What kind of assets are you creating? So I is innovate, what you are going to make. P is protect. Whatever you are making, suppose if you're making this, you should protect because it's your thing, right? So protect. So IP. G is guide. You definitely need a guidance when you are going for a protection or when you want to take a protection to protect it. So that guidance is what we can help you. So G is for guide. So IPG. Y is for yield. Like we think or we strongly believe that your growth is our growth, right? So whenever we give suggestion to our client, we always think about that, your growth is important. So as you go through your IP journey, we make sure that you are growing, you are monetizing it so that, it is impacting to me as well. Like businesses, they lack things. Like they feel that they are a separate entity in the market and they are communicating with clients, they are offering products in the marketplace, but actually they do make relations with other businesses as well. So somehow business impacts us as well. So this is what we say when we say yield. A is agile, agility. So whenever we solve a problem, whenever we solve a dispute, we are very client centric and we bring agile methods. We sit, we discuss, we bring interesting creative ideas how to see this, how to see this problem from every angle and solve it. So this is what we call agile. We use different techniques for that, solve a problem. And the last letter, which is N, Nexus. So we are trying to, bring the tech, the design, the analytics, and law together. So this is what defines.
Probably you guys should be in the real estate business. You'll create beautiful buildings. Oh, such innovative words. I mean, it's like creative. Some people make good desserts, like creative desserts. This is what creative desserts seem like. So take us through who came up with the idea of building a startup like this that would actually is very easy to understand, and I'll think for the listeners who are listening, it's very easy to understand what these people over here, the founders of Ipgyan, are talking about. Even a beginner like me can understand what they're talking about. Take us through who came up
Dave,
with
do you
the
want to take this?
yeah.
Yes.
No, I
Dave,
think
do
you
you
should
want to
take this
take this?
because no, I think you should take
No, no,
this.
you should. You should. Let's fight
Fight,
over this. Who
fight,
will
fight,
take
fight,
this?
fight.
Please,
Please
please,
No, no,
fight, please fight.
please.
no,
And
no, you take
I'll
it.
insist. I'll insist that you should take.
No, no, I insist you should take it because it's
Fight,
your
fight, fight.
idea, it's
Okay.
your brainchild. Yeah.
Love. What is that?
Okay, so honestly, Sopan, this idea of Ipgyan is a brainchild of both of us. So when we were in our college days, we were passionate to build something, and when it was something when we were in college. So eventually, at the time when we started to dig into the subject of intellectual property and commercial laws, we got an insight. We understood the pain points of businesses, and we really wanted to, help businesses and entrepreneurs in that, and bring to them a very cost effective and a proper way through which things can be solved in intellectual property front. So that was the main motivation to bring Ipgyan into the picture, and that's what we believe in. That's what our whole spirit and energy is based on, that we want to create an impact in the IP and a commercial law sector, and help as much as entrepreneurs, businesses, medium small enterprises, in a cost effective manner and in a proper manner, to use different methods to solve their IP issues, and be innovative in our approach. So this is what we are bringing into the table, and we are 2.5 years old. Initially, we used to do a lot of campaigns just to make people aware about IP, and we used to do this. We used to invite guests, and we request okay, you just tell us about this, give insights to entrepreneurs and businesses. So this was the journey. In the first year, we were all about awareness, awareing people. After that, we started to take up clients. Clients started to come to us and take suggestion, and we started to get good reviews. People started to appreciate us for who we are, and that's how we are moving.
Soon it will become a $1 billion company for sure. Uh, Anything, Devarga, you want to add?
Enough of me speaking, yeah.
Please
I'm
No,
fight.
I
thinking
think
of the
no. I think she pretty much summed it up of our entire journey. Yeah. So
Okay.
nothing more from.
Like 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 you have worked with. I was probably seeing some testimonials on a platform, and
yeah.
as you saw, you worked with a lot of media creatives companies. Like, tell us
Yes.
something about that. Like, how did that happen? And for example, like, who have you worked with till now for the audience who's listening?
Dave, I want you to take this up. No
Fight.
fights. No fights.
Which business did you say?
Creative media entertainment.
So legally speaking, we are not allowed to name our clients, although there are
Mm-hmm.
testimonials on the website. But I'm not going to put any names. But we
Mm-hmm.
had the fortune of working with entertainment companies, music labels, marketing agencies, and we had a varied experiences. And yeah, we have had a diverse experience with our clientele, and we really appreciate that.
Wow, pretty interesting. So after the awareness stage of your startup, like, what do you think? Like, is this a golden message for every, for example, entrepreneur who's starting out, that you should actually have a finesse product or service in the market to offer. Only then your business will grow. Otherwise, there's just no chance. Like, what are your both people ideas on this one? This topic?
See, surely your business should, solve some problem. Otherwise, it's something very difficult to exist in the competitive world. So, yeah, just wrapping it. Yes, it is important that you solve a problem, and if you are bringing something which is impactful, which is definitely, like people are able to understand your business, that yes, it is solving a problem, definitely there is an edge, the business will survive. So yeah, that's what I think.
Okay. Pretty a lot of information provided from you people at Ipgyan. So people, all of the good people over the internet, I'll leave all of the links of everything they have, the platforms and stuff. Please go ahead with the legal stuff of things. Please contact them. They're one of the finest like founders I've talked to till now. And yeah, that's pretty much it from our side. I would like to thank from the bottom of my heart to every one of you who joined on a busy day. Thank you so much for all of the information you gave.
No
Thank you so
problem,
much.
Sopan. Thank you so much for inviting us, and thank you to Musicstaan for organizing and arranging this kind of podcast for all the people who are building something. Thank you. You're very energetic,
Absolutely.
and I wish all the best to
Thank you.
Musicstaan and you.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Take care. See you in another
Bye.
conference.
Definitely.
Sure.
together.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.